Part 2 of Barbies for Life by Xtrole. Note, I consider this story to be fan fiction, and this is just a casual reading of this story, and so there may be reading errors that happen, as was the case with Part 1. Chapter 5. Okay, so I had the first 4 chapters completed, and it had only been 2 days since I'd begun writing. Nice. I had accidentally written the 3rd chapter in first person and hadn't realized it until after writing the 4th chapter, but that had been an easy error to fix by just adding the beauty's point of view notation to the beginning of that chapter. It was trippy though. I mean, I had switched to writing in first person without even realizing it, and had only figured it out when I'd been reading through my chapters again. All good though. Okay, so where was I in the story? So, Beauty and Beast got married, Dove and Hawk got married. They all got captured by giant Barbies who were keeping them inside of a cool house on a big table. They all went into the pool but hadn't used the high dive yet, and then they all went to sleep. What should happen next? What if I did a dream? Maybe doing another first person point of view would make sense for the dream chapter. But which Barbie's point of view should the dream be in? Well, Beast and Barbie are kind of the main characters, so maybe Beast should have the dream. Maybe we'll bring back farting too. I kinda had farting in the first 2 chapters and then didn't have any in the second 2 chapters. Okay, let's do this. Chapter 5, Beast's point of view. Hawk and I finished creating the big rope, and it was time to use it to bust our way out of this paradise prison that we'd been placed into. We assembled it using blankets, sheets, clothes, some rope that we found, some power cords, some golf clubs, some baseball bats, and some other various items that had been in the house. Are you too sure that the rope won't snap? Dove asked worriedly, and Beauty added that it looks great, it's just that it'll have to hold really well in order for all 4 of us to climb down it. Don't worry, babe, Hawk and I said at the same time. It'll hold perfectly. And I said, we'll go down it first to test it out. We're heavier than you 2 are, and so if it can take our weight, then it shouldn't have a problem taking yours. I don't want my husband turned into big splat on the floor though, Dove wailed, and Beauty said, isn't there some other way to get out of here? Hawk and I insisted that this was the only way to escape that we could think of, and then Dove said, what if we just stayed here? I mean, the giant Barbies make sure that we're taken care of and there's lots to do. Why make a potentially risky escape from this paradise when it's so safe and fun here? She does have a good point, Beauty agreed. I mean, were our lives really better than this before we got captured? I was about to answer when suddenly we all heard a giant fart that must have come from one of our Barbie captors. The smell soon reached us, and it was really strong and terrible. It didn't quite make us pass out like it had at the cafe, but I almost thought that I was going to pass out at one point. That is why we must leave, Hawk declared, because when we fart, it's just sort of a little meaningless discomfort at worst, but when they fart, it either knocks us out cold or almost knocks us out cold. We can't trust them, Suddenly, we all heard another giant fart, and this one was so strong that we all passed out from the smell. Then I suddenly woke up and realized that I'd only been dreaming. I felt Beauty's arm around me because we were still snuggled up from when we'd fallen asleep, and I grinned and thought about how happy I was that I'd married her. Then I happily allowed myself to drift back to sleep, still in my true love arms, and I hoped that I wouldn't be having any more nightmares about giant Barbie farts that could knock Barbies like my wife and I out. Chapter 5, or Chapter 6. Okay, now I had 5 chapters done, and I still had 3 more days until the writing club meeting. Where to go next with the story? I decided to text my friend, who's named Pastel, to see if she would be down to read the story and give me advice on where to go with it. And so I sent her a text, and she texted me back asking for the story. I texted her the story, and after a while she texted me back and said that it was kind of fun, but that a Barbie story should really have more stuff about doing hair up and whatnot. She also said that if I wanted to make sure that the hair stuff didn't lose me my male fans, then maybe I could have some Law and Order stuff in it or something. I thanked her, and I told her that I'd text her more of the story once I had a few more chapters written. She texted me a thank you, and then I texted a thank you in return and got back to my writing. Okay, so I had to have hair stuff and Law and Order stuff. That seemed doable. Time for Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Beauty and Dove were the first two to wake up in the morning, and they quickly got some food cooking up for everyone. They also got some coffee brewing, and they ate some fruit and drank some water while it brewed, and then poured and drank some coffee once it was ready. Now that they had caffeine in their systems, they were really energetic and decided to do one of their favorite things. It was hair time. Beauty begged Dove to let her do her hair up in braids, and so Dove said yes, but also said that she wanted to do up Beauty's hair next. Beauty was happy about this arrangement, and she quickly began braiding up Dove's marvelous hair. She took a lot of time to do it, and made it so that Dove's hair was done up in a very fancy and impressive way. After she had finished, Dove went over to a mirror to look at her hair, and she got very delighted and said that Beauty had done a spectacular job. Then Dove did up Beauty's hair, and she decided to also do it up in braids so that they would be kind of matching. She did the braids somewhat differently than how Beauty had braided her hair, though, and so it wasn't completely identical to how her hair had been done up. When she finished, Beauty went over to the mirror to check out Dove's work, and Beauty got very excited and said that she absolutely loved the fantastic job that Dove had done on her hair. Just then, Beast and Hawk joined them, and they noticed the braids that Beauty and Dove were sporting, and they complimented them in impressed tones of voice and told them that their hair looked really cool. Dove and Beauty were glad that their husbands liked their awesome hairdos, and they thanked them for the compliments. Just then, the timer for the food went off, and Dove and Beauty informed Hawk and Beast that breakfast was ready. And so the four of them were all soon eating breakfast and drinking coffee. They had almost completed their meal when they suddenly heard a loud knocking sound that seemed to be coming from too far away to be on their doors, and they heard a voice say, "Police, please come to the door as quickly as possible." The four of them were all interested in what was going on, and so they all went into the backyard and climbed up the wall in hopes of seeing what was happening. When they got to the top of the backyard's wall, they saw the huge Barbies who were keeping them contained in this relatively little house being handcuffed and led out of the front door. "I wonder what they did," Dove said worriedly, "and more importantly, I wonder if they'll be returning to the house in time to give us more food and whatnot." "That would be kind of bad if they were stuck in jail and we were stuck up here without food, wouldn't it?" Hawk agreed, and Beast suggested that maybe we should search the house and figure out how many days' worth of food is in there. This seemed like a good idea to everyone, and so Beauty, Beast, Dove, and Hawk all quickly climbed down the backyard's wall and went back into the house to see how long the food that was in there would last them. Chapter 7. After a while of searching the house to make sure that all of the food was accounted for, they decided that there was probably about enough food to last them a month. "That definitely gives us some time," Beauty said, "but it certainly seems possible that our captors could be in jail for more than a month, which could be bad news for us. Don't you think that they'll have someone come here and give us supplies even if they can't come?" Hawk asked, and Dove said, "Only if they're keeping us in here legally. However, for all we know, they may have broken the law by kidnapping us and don't want to fess up to their crimes." "Well, this situation certainly calls for putting some effort into figuring out how to escape from here," Beast said. "Anyone want to look around for rope building supplies?" Everyone agreed, and so they began searching around and compiling a list of everything that could be used to build a rope with. After working on that for a couple of hours, they looked over their lists, and it appeared that they didn't have nearly enough supplies to create a rope big enough to get them to the ground. "What other possible ways of escaping might there be?" Dove said, and Beauty said, "I've been thinking about that too, and it's hard to say." "Yeah, I haven't been able to think of anything either," Hawk said. "Have you, Beast?" And Beast said that he didn't have any ideas at the moment, but that he hoped to figure out some ideas before long. "Maybe we should do a brainstorming session," Dove suggested, and so they all sat down at the table and brainstormed for a while. They seemed to be getting nowhere, but then Beast had an idea. "Is there maybe some way to escape by going up instead of down?" he asked, and so they all went to the backyard and looked up to see if that was an option. There were windows above them that allowed them to see the sky, but there was also a fan too. "Look," Beauty said hopefully, "there's a cord that connects to the fan that goes all the way to the wall of the big room. So, that means that if we can somehow get up to the fan, then we should be able to escape from here," Hawk said, and Dove asked, "Is there a way to get up to the fan?" "Not sure," Beast said with a frown, "but at least we have another possible option available to us now. Want to search the house for anything that might enable us to get up to the fan?" Beauty asked, and everyone agreed and went back inside of the house to search for anything that might help them make their way up to the fan.